Trust in God is a difficult, often fickle thing, because while we might believe we have trust in God, our actions say differently, don't they? I mean, when we don't have strong faith in God, our lives are filled with worry, doubt, stress, anger, and so forth. Some of us feel trapped in this, while others are irritated, anxious, and stressed out. This season, some of us experience heavy feelings. But wait, no one is like our God. He is bigger than big, larger than large, and greater than this life alone. He is God. No one else is like him. For those of us who don't want to wait, you can put your weight on them. You can put it on him, because he's trustworthy. After all, he's strong. I can trust that you can put trust in them. I can put my weight on them. Our desires become his desires. Our thoughts become his thoughts. Gradually, with one footstep in trust after another, we are transformed into his likeness. We are made to be beautiful. When we trust God, we let go of our fears. When a boy lost his first tooth, it did not come out easily. Determined to hang on until the bitter end, it became clear that his father was going to have to pull it out himself before he could eat another meal. Fearful does not begin to describe his son's reaction to this plan. In his 6-year-old mind, he didn't know that pulling a tooth hanging on by a single thread would not hurt. He hyperventilated. The father encouraged. He cried. Father reassured. Finally, he took a deep breath and let it out. The father pulled, and out the tooth came before he could finish his exhale. A wide smile and laughter in his eyes revealed his new awareness that pulling teeth didn't have to hurt at all. And so, when the time came again for the next tooth to be pulled, he wasn't afraid. Trusting God eliminates our fears because we learn to lean on his understanding, not our own, and we learn that his understanding is good. The more and more we trust him, the more we realize we don't have to wait for earthly evidence that he can and will take care of us. Which several years ago, a couple faced an extremely difficult decision that neither one of them wanted to make. They had 2 choices, and both options involved a painful process and an uncertain outcome. However, ignoring the dilemma would have been deciding by default, and so it had to be addressed. They continually sought the Lord in prayer and surrendered their will to his. They pleaded with him to guide them in this decision, to reveal which path to take. Yet the Lord was silent. They thought that if they experienced the Lord's leading, then it would be certain that they were making the right choice. But they never felt the Lord's leading. Instead, what did experienced was him asking them, "Do you trust me with the outcome?" Both of them learned that it wasn't about making the perfect choice. It was about entrusting the decision to God so that he could perfect the outcome. This realization provided them with confidence that whichever choice was to be made, God could and would make good from it. They entrusted God and made a decision that later on led to the betterment of their lives. He's God, and God's timing is perfect. I know that sounds cliché, but sometimes a cliché is a cliché because it's true. God's timing is perfect, even when we can't see it all while we are waiting. God is working. He hasn't left us. He hasn't abandoned us. He is still at work, and what we all often forget is his perspective is so much bigger than ours, and what he's doing and how he works, so much greater than ours. Look at this from the book of Ecclesiastes says that God has made everything. Beautiful in its time, he has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. God is greater and grander. Bigger time itself is a created thing. And that almost hurts my head to say, think about it. He knows it all. He's bigger. He's grander. He is all-powerful. Do we trust him in his viewpoint, even though we can't see it all in the fullness of time? God moves so we can trust God, even in our suffering, even when we don't see. the full picture, we can trust him. The opponent is continually trying to divert your attention, as you can see, with quick blessings, because you must understand that everything in your life has a specific time in God. It's not just about how things appear, or how society defines what it means to be a person in their 30s or 40s, and what possessions you should have. He says that it will truly occur at my appointed time, when you realize that God has marked you for a certain season. I only need to be patient during that process, and wait wisely. I can't stress how crucial it is to grasp that how we wait matters, because there are two ways we can wait, with faith or without it, in the hope that what we heard will come to pass, or in fear that what we thought was said may not happen, in anxiety, worry, and frustration, or by checking our phones every few seconds. I'm not sure if they've responded, but I feel like God has forgotten me. I just want to encourage you to not view the wait as a cancellation. If you feel like you're in this moment, and you go, but it's just taking so long, I would ask you then, maybe God's trying to do something in you right now to try to develop you and work some stuff out of you didn't. Even think it lives was possible. I just realized in my life. Everything took longer with God, but there was a reason behind it. There was a purpose behind every single time that it just took longer. What do we do when God says wait? And the first thing is live at. Peace live. Some of us in our waiting just stop living like we're waiting on something, and we do it. Maybe you get it. Like this. Sometimes I go where? I'm so busy thinking about the good, old days in the past. Or I'm so busy thinking about where I'm trying to be, and want things to be in the future that I don't live in the moment that I'm in today. Has anybody experienced that? Live. Don't pause, but live. Life while you're waiting. And that longing inside of our hearts for something in the future, oftentimes, causes us to miss what is happening in the moment, what God is trying to do in the waiting. But see, we have a hard time waiting and standing still. Life takes time. Life is a process. And if you're going to develop into the man of God that he's called you to be, or the woman of God that he's called you to, you're going to have to learn how to embrace the wait. You have to embrace this thing called waiting, because something is happening. While you're waiting, you're actually living in between the wait. You are developing, maturing, and growing. God is doing something, whether you can see it or not at any time. Be taken more time than you want it to. Take it because it's good. It's because it's great, because God has something planned for you. You wait on. You trust in him, and you believe that he has a plan and a purpose. And I want to say it with everything from the inside of my soul to you. It's worth the journey, no matter where you are or what obstacles you face. Now that I've discovered that following God is okay, listen up. Many of you are probably frustrated. The miracles that some individuals experience in their lives are not what you're witnessing. So here's now for the spoiler alert. God does not deny faith because of God's delay. It's more than simply putting your trust in God. Faith is putting your trust in God's timeline, which is different. That's when you want things to happen, instantaneous, and that is not how God operates. And occasionally it irritates me, and occasionally others receive miracles as a result of my prayers. But even though I don't understand, that's where trust comes in. Even though I'm upset, and my reality is very different from what I had in mind, I don't understand. Even when reality doesn't live up to your expectations. Lord, you are my God, and I put my trust in your hands. Have faith in God and your heavenly parent, The true test of trust is how you react when your reality disappoints. It's in those moments that you discover the actual meaning of trust, while God is patiently waiting for us in the various seasons of our life. Trust that He will continue to guide, bless, and protect the trust that He is in control. Sometimes life is difficult. Life is a process. To become the man or woman that God has called you to be, you must learn to accept the waiting period. You must truly accept this process of waiting because something is occurring. You are truly living and growing in the interim while you wait. You are truly evolving and developing. God is always working, whether or not you can see it. Take longer than you had anticipated. Accept it for what it is. It is wonderful, because God has a plan for you. You wait for it, you put your trust in Him, and you think that He has a purpose and a plan. I want to tell you, from the bottom of my heart, that I'm waiting for God to take shape and form certain things. In my heart, the question that we should be asking ourselves during this season is yet unanswered. What is the nature of God, attempting to take shape inside of me? Characteristics that God is molding while He works to carry out the Great Commission state that while some people comprehend patience, God is not slow. Rather, He is patient with you and does not desire for anybody to die. But for everyone to turn to confession, I find it difficult to wait. However, here are severals. I've discovered that the waiting period is never a waste of time. What transpires during the waiting interval, therefore, if waiting is never wasted? These, then, are some of the things I discovered. Character is created through waiting, and trust is built through waiting. We learn who, how, and where to trust during this time, because God is working while we wait. Our time is not wasted. God is growing us, and He is growing it, and it will arrive at a time that is more convenient for you, by the way.